Ever wondered what would happen if the place you clock in every day becomes the very source of your deepest anxiety? I'm Hannah, your charming legal sidekick, and today's story is about bravery in the face of abuse and the law's answer when power goes unchecked.
Thanks for that intro, Hannah. I'm attorney JFM. This episode unpacks Maria's fight against workplace harassment where boundaries were crossed, management dragged its feet, and dignity was on trial. Oh, by the way, this coffee is great. Thanks.
Here's our game plan. We'll walk through Maria's ordeal, break down what constructive dismissal really means, uncover how companies sometimes miss the mark, and end with the Supreme Court's game-changing decision.
If you've ever felt powerless at work, or know someone who has, this talk is for you. Let's dive in and see how the law stands up for workers who refuse to be silent.
Let's paint the picture. Maria was just trying to make a living at her courier job in Danau, but her supervisor, Rico, started with those all-too-familiar creepy stares and unwanted gifts, right?
Absolutely. What's chilling is how calculated it was. It started as small gestures, chocolates, offers to lend money, but grew into boundary-crossing behavior. He'd touch her hands, even her lap and shoulders, and brushed it all off as a joke.
That word joke is so often used to dismiss real pain, but it got worse. Maria's story peaked when Rico forcibly kissed her at work, correct?
That's right. She was just counting money when he snuck up and kissed her on the lips. She tried to get help, reported it, even wrote a resignation letter because she felt so unsafe. But instead of relief, she faced a new battle, company indifference.
Here's where my blood starts to boil, the company claimed. We didn't fire her. She resigned. They acted like offering a transfer was enough.
That's a classic move. Legally, we call it constructive dismissal. It's not just about signing a termination letter. If your work environment becomes so intolerable that any reasonable person would feel forced to quit, that's the law calling it a dismissal.
So, even if you're the one to write your resignation, it can still be on the employer's head if they made your life unbearable.
Exactly. And in Maria's case, the company waited 41 days just to ask Rico for an explanation. All the while, she was burning vacation days to avoid him, and he was still reporting to work like nothing happened.
Let me push back for a second. The company said they needed time for due process. Is it unreasonable for a big company to take 4 months to investigate?
It's a good question. But sexual harassment isn't like losing a stapler, it's an emergency. By not even suspending Rico, they told Maria her safety was less important than his convenience. That delay spoke volumes.
So, dragging out the process can actually be grounds for legal liability if it puts the victim in more danger.
Exactly. Speed matters. The law now says investigations should wrap up in 10 days for cases like this. Long delays only deepen the trauma.
What really gets me is when the company told Maria's mother there were no bruises, so it was hard to prove. As if you need physical marks to be believed.
That's such a harmful myth. Harassment is about power and intimidation, not black eyes. The law protects workers from hostile environments, regardless of whether the harm is visible.
And calling a forced kiss a beso, that's a slap in the face to anyone who's ever felt violated.
Exactly. The Supreme Court said her fear, her sense of humiliation, that's what counts. The employer can't brush off complaints with cultural excuses. If they ignore the problem, they're just as responsible as the harasser.
So, when all was said and done, the Supreme Court stood with Maria. They found Danau guilty of constructive dismissal, ordered them to pay damages, and sent a strong message to employers everywhere.
Exactly. The lesson for all workers is, you don't have to put up with a toxic workplace. And for employers, ignoring a harassment complaint can cost you more than money. It's a stain on your reputation and a violation of law.
And with new laws like the Safe Spaces Act, there's no excuse for dragging your feet. 10 days is the max for an investigation, right?
That's right. The law is finally catching up to the realities workers face every day. Your dignity at work isn't up for debate. It's protected by the law. We have the Safe Space Act now to protect you more.
All right, time to recap what we've learned. First, constructive dismissal happens even without an official firing if the workplace becomes unbearable. Second, visible injuries aren't required for sexual harassment claims your lived experience is valid. Third, employers have a duty to act quickly, or they risk legal consequences.
If you're feeling unsafe at work, start by documenting every incident and complaint. This simple step can be crucial if you ever need to seek legal help.
And don't forget, you don't have to fight alone. Consulting a lawyer can make a world of difference in these cases. If today's episode helped you, please support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing.
Remember, this isn't legal advice for any specific case, but a reminder that the law is on your side. I'm Attorney JFM. With me is our charming legal sidekick, Hannah. Remember, stand tall, know your worth, and stay safe. See you in the next CES of our podcast episode. Bye.